जय सिया राम। मानस रोग। ऑथर परम पूज्य युगतुलसी पद्म भूषण डॉक्टर श्री रामकिंकरजी उपाध्याय। चैप्टर 2 Part B. There are 4 caves of the consciousness, of chitta, of mind, of intellect and of ego. We get a clue about this in Kishkindha Kand. You can understand this by reading deeply. Kishkindha Kand is actually the chapter of caves. Search for Sita Ji is going on there. Sita Ji is personified peace. Shanti Sita Samanita Atma Ramo Virajate. Lord Ram and Lakshman reside in one of those caves. This is Ramayan's indicative style. Lord Ram resides in a hut in Chitrakoot. In Dandakaranya too, he resides in a hut. But when the question of residing in Kishkindha Kand rose, then it is said that on the Pravarsan mountain he lived in a cave instead, not in any hut. Goswami Ji writes about that cave. प्रथमहि देवन गिरी गुहा राखे रुचिर बनाए राम कृपा निधि कछु दिन बास करेंगे आए. The deities had already beautifully adorned one of the caves of that mountain. That cave is not only a cave of Kishkindha Kand, but also the cave of our conscience, where God Himself resides. If one enters this cave, he will have the darshan of Lord Ram. This is the cave of Chitta. The second cave is of Swayam Prabha. This is the cave of mind. When the monkeys go in search of Sita Ji and upon losing their way in the forest, they grew restless with thirst. Then Hanuman Ji suggests to the monkeys that if water is not available down there, then come, let us go up and try to search for water there. But the monkeys are so tired that they say, "No, Maharaj, we do not have the strength to climb up. Kindly you go up and have a look." Then Hanuman Ji climbs up, sights a cave, comes down and then takes the monkeys up there and shows them that cave. सब कहूँ लय सोई बिबर दिखावा. And along with it, he also shows that skylarks, herons and swans are flying over it and many birds are going inside it. चक्र बाक बक हंस उड़ाही बहुतक खग प्रविशहि तेहि माही. The monkeys say to Hanuman Ji that water is not visible here. On this, Hanuman Ji says that even though water is not visible, but the water birds are still visible. You can imagine through the inference proof seeing the birds that water must be in there, even if there is no direct evidence. Hence, let us go inside. Goswami Ji uses an indicative language here. Angad was the leader and head of all the monkeys. Till now he was walking ahead of them. But when Hanuman Ji told Angad that you go with all the monkeys into the cave, then Angad did not accept it. Reason being that he was terrified in his mind because of caves. Bali had entered a similar cave and then there was a fight between his uncle and his father. Then Bali's elimination was also done due to this cave. Today, the terror towards caves hidden in Angad's conscience is revealed here. He says to Hanumanji, Maharaj, my father entered the cave without thinking and everything was destroyed. Hence, I will not enter. On this, Hanumanji smiled and said, Brother, the cave that your father entered was such a cave in which he should not have entered. But here, the cave which we have to walk in, we must certainly enter inside it. Even then, Angad could not dare, hence Hanumanji led the monkeys. आगे कै हनुमंत ही लीन्हा, पैठे बिबर बिलंबु न कीन्हा. And they all enter the cave. Swayam Prabha lives there. First cave is the cave of Chitta. There God himself resides. When an individual observes yoga, restraining the tendencies of Chit, then he enters the cave of Chit and meets God there. This second cave where Swayam Prabha resides is the cave of the mind. This is the cave of God's grace. Here Swayam Prabha asks the exhausted monkeys to drink water and eat fruits and tells the way to search Sita Ji. In this cave, the nectar of God's grace is being experienced. When the seeker gets tired putting in so many efforts, doing so much penance, then his enthusiasm is restored after getting the message from Swayam Prabha in this cave of mind. This Swayam Prabha is personified grace. She asked the monkeys, Why are you people sad? The monkeys said, We had gone out in search of Sita Ji but could not find her whereabouts. Swayam Prabha asked, Well, how did you look out for Sita Ji, with eyes closed or with eyes opened? The monkeys said, Devi, we did not close our eyes for 1 whole month. Then Swayam Prabha said, If you want to search Sita Ji, then do what I say. Now you search her with your eyes closed. मूंदहु नयन बिबर तजी जाहु, पैहु सीतहि जनि पछिताहु. So in this manner the monkeys get the message of closing their eyes, of grace, of faith and of surrender from Swayam Prabha. The monkeys closed their eyes, and when they opened the eyes, they saw that they have reached the seashore. They started saying amongst themselves that there was no fruitfulness in closing the eyes. Swayam Prabha had said that close the eyes, you will attain Sita Ji for sure. But where we have arrived at this seashore, they start doubting the message of Swayam Prabha. Many a times this happened in our lives too. We go to some saint and ask for the way to peace. The saint says that meditate with your eyes closed, you will get peace. We close our eyes and meditate for 10 to 5 days, but when it seems that we are not getting peace from anywhere, then we start doubting the sayings of the saint, that whether his technique is correct or not. The exact same thing happened with the monkeys. They did not find any benefit in closing the eyes. Now these are two methods, closing the eyes and opening the eyes. The question is, which method is correct? Closing the eyes points out to faith or Vishwas, and the significance of opening the eyes refers to discretion or Vivek. The question arises that whether there is requirement of faith or discretion in life. The answer to this is that both are important. When the monkeys close their eyes in the cave of Swayamprabha and on opening the eyes they find themselves on the seashore, then they get kind of disheartened and think that when we have not been able to find out the whereabouts of Sita ji, who is personified peace, then it would be appropriate for us to give up our lives. At such a time, Goswamiji indicates towards a third cave. He writes that there were mountains near the sea too, and there was a cave. A vulture was sitting inside that cave. He was very wise. His name was Sampati. When he heard the monkeys talking, he came out and on hearing what he said thereafter, the monkeys were utterly horrified. They start thinking over that when Sita ji could not be found, then the way to go back has been closed too, because Sugriv had said that if you do not find out the whereabouts of Sita ji, then you will get death sentence, and this period of 1 month was already over. This is the very problem of the seeker. He cannot go back, and neither does his purpose is achieved. Sometimes in the period of practice or penance, so much of melancholy and hopelessness appears when the way to go back is closed, and the closing of this way is essential too. Kabir Das ji used to say this very thing. There is one sarcastic couplet of his. He was standing with a burning torch. People said, "We will also go on the journey with you." Kabir said, "All right, come." People asked that, "Are you going with the burning torch because it is dark ahead?" He said, "This flaming torch is not for darkness. Instead, it is there so that the people who are walking with me may use it." कबीरा खड़ा बाजार में लिए लुकाठी हाथ, जो घर फूके आप ना चले हमारे साथ. Whoever wants to go with us must burn his house and then go with us. What does it imply? That if you go with me and the house still remains, then you will think about returning midway. So when the house itself will be burnt, then you will think that instead of walking ahead, what else is left to do on returning? Due to closing of the way back, there is no option left with the seeker other than that of moving ahead. The way to go back had closed for these monkeys too, because the time limit of 1 month set by Sugriv was over. The sea is surging in front and Sita ji could not be seen anywhere. The monkeys decided that they would fast unto death, and they sat by the seashore starting the fast. At this moment a voice came from the cave. "आजु सबहि कहाँ भच्छन कराऊं, दिन बहु चले आहार बिनु मराऊं, कबहु न मिल भरी उदर आहारा, आजु दीन विधि एक ही बारा." Oh, this is such a good thing that so many monkeys will give up their lives fasting. Lord of the universe has sent me so much food at my home itself. Today I will eat them all. So many days had passed. I was dying without food. I never used to get enough food to fill the stomach. Today the Creator has sent me food in very large quantity in a single go. Listening to these words of the vulture, the monkeys freaked out in terror. These poor monkeys do want to give up their lives, but even the one who is about to commit suicide thinks of giving up his life easily. Then sometimes the person has this concern too that his body should not be mistreated. So when the monkeys hear that the vulture would eat our bodies, then they become very disappointed. Gloom descends over them that we had started with such a big goal, but today such circumstances have arisen that we are forced to give up our lives without attaining our goal, and our body is going to be the food for a vulture. Frustration and desperation besieged the monkeys. At that time, Angad came to their rescue. In the cave of Swayamprabha, Hanumanji had come forward to protect the monkeys, but in this cave of Sampati, Angad's role is pivotal. This is the third cave of Kishkindha Kand. The reason for Angad's lead here is that Hanumanji was engrossed in the nectar of grace of the Lord in the inner cave of the heart. After understanding the message of Swayamprabha in the true sense, Swayamprabha had said, Mundahu Nayan, close your eyes. That does not literally mean to close the eyes. It is like someone says that, listen, storm is approaching, close the doors. If someone infers from that, close only the doors and keep the windows open, then it is the height of senselessness. Close the doors is for closing the doors, but it is for closing the windows as well. More dust can enter through the doors, so close the doors, but dust may also come through the windows, therefore close the windows too. The indication implied in Swayamprabha's message is closing down all the sensory perceptors or Jnanendriya and become introvert completely. But the monkeys took the meaning of closing the eyes as merely closing of the eyes. Hanumanji closed the eyes, closed his ears too, and submerged in the remembrance of the Lord inside. That is why there is no role of Hanumanji in this episode. But Angad's eyes were open and he was not immersed within like Hanumanji. Hence, he comes forward here and listening to the vulture speaks after contemplation. कहा अंगद विचारि मन माही धन्य जटायु सम कोई नाही. Aha, there is no one as blessed as Jatayu. Through this statement of his, Angad gives different messages to the vulture and the monkeys. The message to the vulture is that there was one vulture who belonged to your race who gave up his life to save Sita ji, and the other vulture is you who wants to eat away the ones who are there to search for her. It seems that you did not get any inspiration from the brothers of your own race. The message for his companions was that if a vulture, upon risking his life to protect Sita ji, becomes deserving of salvation and Lord's grace, then the Lord will accept us too. Even though Jatayu could not save Sitaji, but because of him giving up his life for a pious cause, the Lord came himself and picked him up in his lap. Similarly, what Angad meant was that even if we are unable to find Sitaji and our life goes away in finding her, but we should keep up this faith that if not in this life, then at least after death, God will definitely accept us. This effort of us will not go in vain. When Sampati heard Jatayu's name from Angad, he came near the monkeys and said, "Do not be scared." Following this, the conversation between Sampati and the monkeys takes place. Sampati says to the monkeys, "See there. There is Ashok Vatika in Lanka and Sitaji is sitting there. You will not be able to see. I can see because a vulture's eyesight is boundless. Therefore, the vulture indicates to open the eyes." Swayamprabha had indicated to close the eyes. Sampati's cave is the cave of intellect, the cave of going above the limitations of the body. Goswamiji writes that Sampati is saying to the monkeys that earlier I was very proud of myself, but sage Chandrama gave me knowledge out of compassion and relieved me of my ego, born out of body identification. Dehajanit Abhiman Chadava. This is the third cave. The implied meaning is that when we are involved in search of peace, devotion, then we should enter the cave of our mind, drink the water of grace given by Swayamprabha and feel blessed in life, or enter the cave of the vulture, the cave of intellect, and rise over body identification through prudent thinking and try to attain peace. Get benefited by devotion. The fourth cave is of Bali. This is the cave of ego. Earlier on, Naradji sat in the cave of the Chitta or consciousness and then he entered into Samadhi. Sahaj Bimal Man Lagi Samadhi. Also, the desire to enter into Samadhi came into Narad's heart, seeing a cave itself. Himgiri Guha Ek Ati Pavani. Till the time he sat in the cave of Chitta, he stayed engrossed in Samadhi, but when he got victory over Kam, after that he entered straight into the fourth cave. From the cave of Chitta, he comes out and goes to the cave of ego. Bali too committed the mistake of entering that cave. That episode is very vast. We will keep it before you as a guiding principle only. One day Sugriv said while narrating one of his life incidents that this is the very cave which brought destruction in Bali's life. It appears weird on reading that a cave can destroy such an invincible warrior. You know that Bali has defeated Ravan. He defeated Dundubhi too. There was one more demon in whose heart the desire to defeat Bali rose. His name was Mayavi. He thought, we cannot defeat Bali by fighting, but if I challenge him in midnight, then because the monkeys do not come outside at night, Bali too will not come out in the dark due to fear. And this is how I will announce after coming back that Bali did not accept my challenge. Hence, I am the winner. Mayavi thinks that in this manner I will become the victor of the one who defeated Ravan and Dundubi. Thinking thus, Mayavi comes in midnight and challenges Bali for fight. Bali could not reject it. He immediately comes out of the house and follows Mayavi. Mayavi is unable to see any way out to save himself from Bali, so he enters a cave. If Bali did not come out in the dark night, then there would have been no issue. After coming out, if he had not entered the dark cave following Mayavi, then too there would have been no problem. But this is the unfortunate side of Bali's character. If we see it otherwise, then Bali is symbolic of virtues and righteous deeds. And who is Mayavi? It is said in Ramcharitmanas, introducing him as मैं सुत मायावी तेहि नाउ आवा सो प्रभु हमरे गाँव. This Mayavi is the son of the demon May. Demon May was the one who had constructed Lanka and adorned it. Even if this is the occurrence of Treta Yuga, but even today, this May and Mayavi are present in our lives. Goswami Ji was asked that who is this demon May? He writes in Vinay Patrika, Rachit Man Danuj May Roop Dhari, meaning that this mind itself is demon May. Mayavi is the son of this May. Only that is of this May only. That is, resolutions and options in the mind are collectively called as Mayavi. This same resolution arising in the mind challenges Bali. Now, is not necessary that the seeker tries to enter into a fight. Now it is not necessary that the seeker tries to enter into a fight with vices just like that. It is not a characteristic of a seeker that it forces the vices to fight. Intelligence lies in avoiding the vices. Distancing from the vices is the duty of the seeker. But in Bali's mind, there was an intoxication that I am the victor of sins and vices. Hence, when my son Mayavi, the resolution of the mind challenges him, then he accepts it, and after accepting enters the cave of the mountain, about which Goswamiji writes in the Vinay Patrika, Param Barbar Kharb Garb Parvat Chadhyo. That is the mountain of pride, and in it is the cave of ego. Mayavi gets inside this cave of ego. Bali's ego was so high that he told Sugriv, I will defeat him in 15 days. Such a claim is the pretense of a seeker's life. If a seeker believes that he certainly has the ability to defeat the vices, and he will defeat the vices and ill thoughts in a particular time period for sure and attain success in spiritual practice, then this is the proclamation of his ego. Bali did the same mistake of announcing the consequence Bali did the same mistake of announcing. The consequence is that this announcement creates a confusion in Sugriv's mind. The bright side of Sugriv's character is that he knows the boundaries of his abilities. This is very essential for devotion. Sugriv too could have entered that cave, but he does not enter because he knows that this is ego's cave. His biggest quality is that in his entire life he never became an egoistic. Bali's misfortune is that despite being very brave or challenging the vices and ill thoughts, he enters the extreme depths of ego and starts thinking that I am the victor of vices. The result is that this pride of being a victor of vices becomes fatal for Bali in the end. Hence, on Bali, that is on ego, the Lord aims his arrow. In Narad's character too, we see that he was immersed in samadhi in the cave of Chit. Then coming out of it, he started talking to Kam. Kam begged for mercy, bowing in his feet, and sung the praises of Narad as he returned to heaven. But here we see that Narad ji comes out of the cave of Chit and enters the cave of ego in which Bali had entered. Narad too harbored the pride of being a victor in his heart. He started thinking that no one has ever achieved the kind of success as I have. Goswami ji calls this episode as Narad Moh too. The reason being, who else knows other than Narad that ego is the most fatal? He himself is the propagator of devotion, hence he is acquainted with the evil of ego more than anyone else. Still, this emotion arises in his mind that no one else has achieved this feat before me. This alone is delusion. And when he felt that I have achieved the biggest success in conquering Kam, then the first thought that came to his mind was that let me go and narrate my victory to others and enjoy it. Let others know too that how big a success I have achieved. This kind of tendency only comes in an egoistic's mind. Although Kam was himself advertising for Narad, then the deities were doing that too. But Narad gets anxious for self-propagation. He decides that let me first narrate all of this to Shankarji himself. Naradji felt that Shankarji is considered to be the victor of Kam and I too have won over Kam. Then let me see how does Shankarji feel listening to my victory, whether he becomes happy or a victim of jealousy. That is it. From here only the process of mental disorder begins. If someone after bathing in Ganga enters a polluted water stream or sewer, then will not the filth of the sewer taint him? The same happened with Naradji. From samadhi, righteousness and virtuousness, he stepped down into the filth of ego. When he went to Shankarji and started narrating his victory tale, that how Kam attacked me, but I did not get affected and forgave him. Indra was afraid for no reason. I did not have any greed for the heaven. Then Shankarji started smiling, listening to all this. He is a doctor. He recognized Narad's illness. After narrating his story, when Naradji asked, Maharaj, how did you like the news of the victory? Then Shankarji said, बार बार बिनवऊँ मुनि तोहि, जिमि यह कथा सुनायहु मोहि, तिमि जनि हरिहि सुनायहु कबहु, चलेहु प्रसंग दुरायहु तबहु. O Muni, I request you again and again that the way you have told me this story, please don't tell God Shri Hari in the same manner. Even if there is any discussion about it, just omit it. Such a short and harsh criticism of Katha has never been done anywhere. If someone after listening to Katha or narration says that do not tell it to anyone else, then what does it mean? It means that the Katha is of no use. Shankarji did not say directly that Katha is not good because he was a friend. If it was an enemy, he would criticize directly, but in friendship there is affection. Shankarji thought that if I will directly tell Narad his shortcoming, then he might feel hurt, hence says it a bit vaguely. But he wants that Naradji's illness should go away, so arranges for the medicine. But the unfortunate thing with us is that in respect to physical diseases we accept what the doctor says, but in respect to mental disorders it is hard to believe what the doctor says. The same happened with Naradji. He did not like what Shankarji said. Shankarji's words can also be seen in the spiritual perspective. Shankarji is also the deity of the ego of the whole. Ahankar se buddhi aj man sasi chitt mahan, meaning that Naradji went before the ego of the whole with his petty ego. It is just like someone approaches the Sumeru mountain with a ring. There is the mountain of gold and here is the gold of a ring. Would the Sumeru mountain get impressed seeing that ring? That is why, listening to Narad's calm story, Lord Shankar said, Timi jani harihi sunayahu kavahu. The inference is that, Muniji, the way you came here with the dirt of ego, please do not go to Kshir Sagar with this dirt. Lord Vishnu is the deity of Chitta. Shankarji meant that the thing which is in Narad's ego should not have a place in his Chitta. Because if that happens, then it would be a disaster. But Narad commits this very same mistake. Though he says to Shankarji that if you say that I should not tell to Lord Vishnu, then I will not tell to Lord Vishnu, then I will not tell him at all. But Narad could not help himself from going to Lord Vishnu. But yes, he goes there after a while. Also, there were two reasons behind him going a bit late. Firstly, he wanted to show before Lord Shankar that, see, I kept your word. And secondly, the thought was there in his mind that Lord Vishnu wouldn't be able to stop himself from asking that why did he come late? Then I would get the chance to tell. People keep looking for the opportunity to self-praise, don't they? What was the outcome eventually? Exactly how Narad had visualized it. Seeing him, Lord Vishnu got up to greet him and asked what Narad wanted. He said, Bahute dinan keen muni daya. What is the matter, Muniji? Today you have bestowed mercy after so long? And then, Kam charit Narad sab bhage, jadyapi pratham baraji siv rakhe. Although Shivji had already forbidden, still Naradji started narrating the story of Kam to the Lord as to how Kam attacked on him and he forgave him. He started telling that I don't have greed even for the heaven. All these disturbances were the reason for coming late for your darshan. The Lord instantly said on hearing this, ब्रह्मचर्य व्रत रतमति धीरा तुमहि की करई मनोभव पीरा. Muniji, you are a celibate, too great a yogi. Your discernment is stable. How can then Kam torment you? Hearing Lord's words, Naradji started comparing Vishnu and Shankar as he sat there. He contemplated that Vishnu is not jealous, like Shankarji. Shankarji, on listening to me, did not praise me even once. And look at Lord Vishnu. He is praising me continuously. But Narad could not understand this fact that Vishnu's praise were more hazardous than Shankar's indifference or disregard. Because upon listening to his own praises, his attention was completely directed away from his own shortcomings. In fact, Naradji came to know about his shortcomings through the ganas or the attendants of Shankarji. Despite Shankarji pointing out, Naradji could not see his drawbacks and could not understand Vishnu's sarcastic language. Then Shankarji's attendants or Gana take the responsibility upon themselves to show Naradji his flaws. The master can be great-hearted, but the attendants are not that lenient. The attendants were angry on Naradji. They felt that he is trying to equal our master by declaring himself the victor of Kam. So, these two attendants sat near Naradji in the Swamvar of Vishwamohini as fault finders. The arrival of just one vice in the form of ego in Narad's life, and it called upon the whole group of vices to be with it. Consequently, Kam and all other vices arose in Narad. Then the Lord arranged to treat Narad's disease. When Vishwamuni put the victory garland in Lord Vishnu's neck and the Lord went away taking her with him, the two Rudragana were sitting beside Naradji only. What Vishnu and Shankar could not show Narad, these two Rudragana or attendants show him. They say to Narad, Nij mukh mukur bilo kahu jai. Go and just see your face in the mirror. And when Narad saw his face in the water, then he did not see his own form. Instead, he saw the figure of a monkey. This is a very strange indication. When a person looks into the mirror, he sees his own face, not someone else's face. But here Narad does not see his face, but a monkey's face in the water. When he saw in the water once again, then he saw his real face, but not his fault. He saw the fault of the one who had given him the form of a monkey, and that was it. He grew impatient with anger and फरकत अधर कोप मन माही सपदि चले कमलापति पाही. His lips started quivering and immediately he went to Lord Kamalapati. He met the Lord midway only. बीचहि पंथ मिले दनुजारी संग रमा सोई राजकुमारी बोले मधुर बचन सुर साई मुनि कहाँ चले बिकल की नाई. The Lord asked, Muniji, where are you going? You had so much faith in me, and you used to say that no one was your bigger well-wisher than me. You never see any fault in me, then where are you going in so much agitation? Hearing this, Narad got so angry on Lord Vishnu, which is beyond description. In Shankarji, he had seen only one defect of jealousy, but in Lord Vishnu he sees a mountain of faults. He burst out, पर संपदा सकहु नहीं देखी, तुमरे ईर्षा कपट विषय की, मथत सिंधु रुद्रहि बौरायहु, सुरन प्रेरी विष पान करायहु, असुर सुरा विष संकरहि, आपु रमा मणि चारु, स्वार्थ साधक कुटिल तुम, सदा कपट व्यवहारु. He gives so many names to the Lord. He starts seeing just demerits and faults in the Lord. The biggest issue with mental disorders is that no matter how much self-aware and endowed with virtues a person is, but if becomes egoistical after defeating vices, then all these vices and disorders will enter his life once again. Despite realizing delusion to be the ultimate vice, if a person becomes delusioned of being victorious of vices and burdens himself with this pride, then it will be called his misfortune. Goswamiji wants to tell through Narad that if a great man like Narad, due to incautiousness, could get inflicted with so many mental disorders, then the seeker who thinks that his consciousness has become void of defects, then there cannot be a bigger self-deception or fooling oneself. That is why he writes that though mental disorders are there in everyone, but only a few are able to see them. है ही सबके लखी बिरलन पाए. Ending chapter 2 part B. जय सिया राम. बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुदेव भगवान की जय. सद्गुरुदेव भगवान अमर हैं. जय जय श्री सीताराम.